Hello! Okay, welcome to another one of my drawing tutorials. What we're going to be doing today is looking at drawing eyes. Mostly we'll be doing manga style eyes. We'll also be looking briefly at realistic eyes as well. Now, I've got a bit of a system for doing those, so it should be quite straightforward and easy to do. Okay? No worries, let's get started. Do that. Right. Okay. Might as well just zoom in. Do. Okie dokie. Right. So, what we're going to do, we're going to make a sketch layer. So we're going to. I like drawing in blue for my sketches, so it's nice. It's just nice. And yeah, because that way you can add a new layer afterwards and make any other lines nice and crisp and delete the other one. So what we do first, the easiest manga style I know how to do. You essentially, and we're not going to be drawing any heads or anything. We just start with the eyes and that's it. But I always start with the iris. Okay, now it looks pretty simple, but what you do afterwards, do a line across, do one down. It's pretty simple. Well, I do wish I'd thicken this pencil up. Do one like that. Flick up like that for the eyelash. So that's that. Then do the shape of the eye there. Now, usually I leave it at that, but you could add the underneath as well if you wanted to. Personally, I don't like doing that. I like leaving it just with the top eyelash. I always give it a little flick. Obviously, this is for a girl's eye. Next, I go on to the highlights. Okay, you can do as many or as little as you want. Then, and again, this is the simplest one I know. Okay, try and make that a bit rounder than what I did. And you just basically scribble this in. I'm not going to do it perfectly. Just get the gist of it. Okay. And then you shade in this part a little lighter or in a colour. So let's use this one. Okay. Why is this not? That's better. Alright, so that's pretty straightforward, but as I said, you could add another layer. Go on your pen. I'm using Manga Studio, by the way. I only had a little while, but I love it. I love it, I do. Okay. I don't usually draw this big, so that's why it's coming out a bit funky. The next one I'll do a proper size. Okay. Okay. What you can do after that, you get rid of your other one. Use your wand, select the areas, then block fill all of it. Yeah. Where's my bucket? Right, there you go. There you go. And you just basically do that for the rest of it and make it whatever colour you like. There's obviously ways for this one, because we've drawn a shape in for the shading around the eye plus the pupil. You might want to just shade in just around here, make it blend in a little bit, but it's completely up to you. And also if you want to add, I don't know, a bit of eyelid or something, but pretty straightforward. So you can add that on too. Alright, so this time we're just going to draw straight in black, and I'm going to draw it a bit bigger. This one, you start with the lash. You get that nice arc there. Then there you go. You get the iris. I always do my highlights up in the top left. Don't always do one down here, but I always do one up here. I'll switch over to an airbrush just cause. And what I do, you do that. It's essentially the same. I mean, your eye is going to be darker up the top anyway, so I just do that anyway. And you just darken that up. There you go. And again, do the eyes, little eyelid fold thing, like that. And you can do that too. I've seen you can also, if you really want, like, add these little bits, but not as thick as that, and you add them all the way around. Or I don't know, you could do anything really. I mean, add a little smidgen of colour, and then go all the way around. Your best bet is just go online, look up as many characters as you can find, and see how many different styles of eyes there are. Because there are loads, absolutely loads. You just add the shading around where the shadows are going to fall. Basically, if something's coming towards you, it's going to cast a shadow. So, say your eyebrow, that sticks out a bit, so it's going to cast a shadow, well, basically around this whole bit. But obviously there are shapes and things there as well, so I usually just stick to here and around here and a little bit here, depending on the picture. But yeah, style I use for my characters, similar to the first eye we did, but rather than do the shape and everything, oh, that's not thick enough. Just do that, and then colour the whole thing in. But if I were using a pencil, I would make the pupil a bit more prominent, but keep the rest of the eye dark as well. If it's a guy, I'll just leave it like this. If it's a girl, again, just add these little flicks. Okay. Yeah. How many others? For most of them, drawing the iris first is easier. And rather than scribbling like I am, just block fill it. You can add any shading afterwards with layers. There you get the idea. What you could do for this one, draw it thicker. I mean, most eyes, they're not really different. Sometimes they have really strange shapes. Like, sometimes they're just like that. They don't have any real thing going to them, or just a little dot in the middle. You could do like Shringan in there or something. Can't remember exactly what they look like, but you get the idea. Anyway. Whatever. Right. Let's go on to something that is a bit more interesting. Proper eyes. This one, best to sketch every time. Yeah, that's good. That's fine. Take it down a little bit. Okay. What we do, you sketch out, rather than like we did before, where you do the irises first. For realistic eyes, I like to do the general shape of sort of the eyelids and everything, where your tear duct is. So let's do a left eye. So this sticks up from around here. And so you've got the corner of your eye here. You got to remember there's your tear duct here and here. Doesn't have to be perfect, just sort of general idea. Get a reference. Just look up eyes on Google or something. And you got that big arching thing here, almost. Yeah. And then bring it up. It doesn't go straight up, it goes up gradually. Okay? Then, afterwards, you do your iris. My one's in the middle. It's usually deceptively big. People tend to draw these way too small. You've also got to remember when you're looking at the reference. I mean, I don't know if this applies to you as well, but for me, I tend to mistake how much space there really is because of the shadow I've got to add afterwards. So I draw it as I see it, and it sort of looks a bit weird. But once you add the shadow in, it all sort of looks right. So don't look at it and think, oh, I've messed it up. It's like bits are too big or too small or something. Shade it in and everything, and make sure the shapes are there, and you'll find it's probably right. Okay. Next, we'll do the eyelid folds. Again, if you're using a reference, I shouldn't have to tell you where to put them. Okay, now some people do it like that. This one goes down there and like that a little bit. And there's also some sort of this going on. That'll do. You don't have to do it completely like with wrinkly lines. You can just do a normal line, but it's up to you completely. Now, next is something, when I was in school anyway, they always told me never to do, because they thought it was a waste of time, but I completely disagree. And that is drawing the individual eyelashes. Yeah, I know, it's not as tedious as it sounds. Once you get a good flick in your wrists when you're drawing them, it's easy peasy. I always start from the corner on the top lid, and I just sort of build them up. Now, try and make them a bit sort of all over the place as well, because your eyelashes don't grow in a line, You see I'm going under my line I drew as well, because they do curl under that, the eyelid. If you look in the mirror or in your reference, see what I'm doing? I'm just building it up, and you get quite a nice little layering effect. The only problem comes when you get to about here, and you've got to start putting your perspective in, sort of doing a bit different directions and stuff just to get it right. Remember, keep going with the curve. And once you get over this side, as you see, on most people's eyes anyway, there's less lashes over here. Okay? Right, there you go. That'll probably be fine for that. I mean, we don't need to overdo it. But I like to go over to the right a bit more and really do those ones in. I don't know. Just think it looks nicer. Sucker for long lashes, I guess. But when it gets to the bottom row, there's a lot less. especially on near the tear duct. So you just do one or two, just there, flick in different directions. Always trying to get that nice little curve in there as well. So you're trying to mimic that they're growing out of the lid there, so it's not always going to be perfect. They definitely don't grow in straight lines, so all the same direction. Right, but that is about right. Next, I'm going to switch over to an airbrush just for ease. If you're using a pencil, you just got to sort of scribble around a bit. Don't press too hard, just scribble around if you're using a pencil. And I'll tell you what, I'll show you what I mean if you're using a pencil. You sort of do this. Because what happens, if you do this for the pupil, those lines are going to show up forever and just jar the whole picture. Because remember, you still got all this stuff to draw in as well. So the idea is to darken this gradually in the middle, and you naturally get a softer edge, which is that sort of colour you get between your pupil and your actual eye colour. Say if you've got blue eyes, like my, I guess sort of a orangey yellow inner colour, so that's what I'm talking about, if that makes sense. People with brown eyes, it's usually just a darker brown, but that's what I mean. So you get a nice little contrast there. It's a bit harder on a tablet to show you this, but it's doing a good job. But that's what I mean. And you do a similar thing when you're doing the iris as well. You just scribble around. You don't ever do any hard lines. It's all about building up, you know? You see? But we'll get to that. Anyway, switching over to an airbrush. Okay. Now for me, I'll find easiest, and we're starting with the iris, is filling this whole thing straight from the start rather than with a pupil. Okay, so I call it my base colour. Although if you were doing this as a proper drawing, because this is just a sketch, if you're doing it as the final layer, you might as well just block fill that and then add shading over the top. I'm only shading on the sketch because it doesn't matter. Anyway, now you got this, that's when you can go to your pupil. And it actually, before we even really go much more into it, if you're looking at your reference and you're looking at the highlights and they're covering your pupil, don't put them in. We're going to move those highlights. Okay? Sounds strange, but it looks a lot more natural when you move the highlights. Anyway, right. So what I was saying earlier about the scribbling here, the airbrush kind of does it for you. So it's a little cheaty, but it saves you time. And if you're doing it as a job, saving time, godsend. Anyway, so you sort of blend that in, keeping the actual pupil dark. It's looking a bit weird at the moment, but it's building. Next, we do this part. And because you've got eyelashes there, it's casting a shadow on the eye. And that's why we colour that in, just here. Okay, it's starting to look a bit better. Now, as I said just now about the casting a shadow, you got eyelashes all the way and the eyelid. So, you're going to get some shadow here too, on the actual eyeball. We might as well go all the way in there. All the way down here. So it'll look different. Okay. Bit down here. Here's the other thing. Your eyeball is round. So unless you shade in the eyeball a little bit, it'll end up looking a little bit grey on a colour picture. I mean, the eyeballs aren't actually white, they're sort of a grey, milky, whitey colour. It's not, Anyway, a little bit of shadow around the iris. See, I'm putting it a little bit on the iris, a little bit around the side of the iris. So it's getting a bit more depth. Okay. Next, we're going to go around the iris, because the iris, that's round as well. If you look at an eyeball from the side, it's sort of like a very flat cone. Very flat cone. It does pop out a bit. Anyway, there you go. Then, working from the top again, just gradually come down. I like to go from the middle like this, because that way, especially if you're using a pencil, you'll get the lines that go like this, and that helps with making the effect better, because if you look in your eye, it does kind of look like there's strands going in that sort of way. Okay. Anyway, here we go. We'll just build that up, making it look as spherical as we can. A little bit more around there. You're probably thinking, oh, you're just colouring the whole thing. It's no good. But doesn't it look quite good? Anyway, colour that a bit more. Colour under here a bit. Right. Next we're going to do the eyelids and things. We're going to do the highlights and making the eyeball really pop afterwards. So we've got a shadow here. Colour through the eyelashes as well, because there's going to be all sorts of things there. Okay. Colour under it a bit, but we want to make that just a smidge darker, and then lighter here. Okay, same thing goes for this. Gonna make it nice and dark where the actual eyelashes are. Have this come out with the shape of your eyelid, then just a bit lighter around this. You see, you get this nice little effect there. There you go. Lovely. Shape of that, make sure you leave a little bit of white space there. Cool. A bit above this. Don't make it too dark. Remember, just look at your reference so you can see where all this is. I'm going to put a proxy eyebrow in though. This isn't going to look... There you go, that's just... Because it looks weird without an eyebrow. There you go. That'll do. That'll do the trick. Right. Anyway, next, we're going to leave the highlights till absolutely last. So next we're going to be blending. Now, if you're using a pencil, just use a paper stump and be gentle. Don't press too hard. But if you're using a computer like me, and your program hopefully has a smudge tool, then just use that and turn the sensitivity down. You just blend, dragging it along, making it nice and smooth. Make sure the thing's big enough. Mine wasn't. Oh, that sounded bad. Right. See what I'm doing? Just smoothing it all out. Just makes it look a little bit better. Nice. Okay. Smooth this out a bit. Right. Next is highlights. Now, firstly, what we're going to do, we add it to just of the left of the pupil. Is it actually going to come up? No, because I've still got my smudge on. My plonker. Alright, there you go. And you put it on just to the left. I need to add a new layer, because it's not going to draw in front. There you go. It comes up. I do mine about that big usually. You can add more than one highlight if you want. I just put it down here, but I always make it a bit smaller. Now already that looks pretty good. What you can do, if you're on a computer, obviously you can zoom in. Put your brush density down. And what you do, you just do these little lines in and out. You slowly build it up, you get the effect that real eyes get. You can do the same thing with pencil, obviously, except how you do it is you colour it in the same, but obviously you just use a rubber, a eraser. I've got an electric one, a little spinny rubber. It's pretty good. Right. Anyway, back to this. Something I also do is, rather than have this all the same blue, I add a darker blue and make that go around here. Just give it a bit more character. And also just around this one as well. There you go. Not gonna colour it in any more than this. There's no need. You get the idea. You can always add some colours yourself. One last thing you can do, add in the old white. Just lighten this bit up round. Rather than doing the lines going into the pupil, just go straight across them. Just brightens the whole thing up. And there you go. Always add a few in here. Always add a little bright spot right in the tear duct and at the top, and then blend the rest together. It gives a nice effect. And that's about it. I mean, that's as simple as I can make it, really. There's better ways of doing it. And again, this is a way of doing it, not the way of doing it. It's just something I found that works quite well for me. And I think you probably agree that the results turn out quite well. And I think I made that look quite simple. One thing I didn't mention, actually, It's a bit silly. This part here, basically, you make it darker than the eyeball, but lighter than this part here. As I say, if you're in black and white, I mean, if you're going to do it in colour, just make it the pinky red colour. But here we go. Just nice and light. And dark right in the corner. Okay. If you're doing black and white, just, I don't know, paper stump usually has enough graphite left on it to get that light enough without having to use a pencil and go really lightly. Anyway, that's about it. Okay, I have some more tutorials and stuff soon enough. Next video is likely to be a time lapse of one of my new pictures. Not sure what it's going to be yet. I don't know what it's going to be yet. It'll be up. It'll be up in a couple of days. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.